Good afternoon, class. I'm Dr. Ross, and today we're going to try and answer a question that comes up for all teachers when you go into a classroom. Not everybody wants to do their work, and so we're going to answer the question, why should I? One of the things you need to remember is that there are principles of learning that you're asked as a teacher to utilize. And of those principles of learning, one that's very powerful is motivation. And so I think we want to remember the 5 major elements of motivation with a little acronym. Here is a representation of Fiona. And what we're going to do is ask Fee. Now I want you to write those letters down on a piece of paper. So if you need to pause this video and go get a pencil and a piece of paper, please do that now. I'll wait. And okay, here we go. In Ask Fee, we find the 5 elements of anxiety, success, knowledge of results, feeling, tone, and interest. And you say to yourself, well, let's get a definition of motivation. What is it exactly that we're talking about? When we look at the word motivation as a noun, it's a state of need or desire that activates the person to do something that will satisfy that need or desire. When we use motivate as a verb, prompt, inspire, cause, induce, or stimulate someone to action. Now, a big part of the last part of that definition is by consciously manipulating the environment. Many of you are parents, you are church people, and you teach Sunday school. You have military experience, or you're currently in the military. You're a coach, or you've coached before. And so you know that motivation is something that you can already do with those kinds of experiences. And if you think for a moment in any one of those roles, and some of you occupy all of them, you've asked somebody to do something for you or for themselves that's going to improve their ability to succeed in the world. As a teacher, that's one of the things we ask kids to do right away. Open your books, get out your journals, begin work. Under the A for Ask Fee, the first element of the 5 that occur under motivation is anxiety or tension, the level of concern. If it's too low, you won't go. If it's too high, you won't try. Here's a little high jump example. The bar is laying on the ground. You as the teacher make the decision about where to set the bar. If it's too low, they won't try, especially the ones that are more gifted at the high jump. If it's too high, they won't try because they don't want to try something they'll fail at. So your job is to create the achievable challenge. One of the decisions you'll make as a teacher is, what is that challenge going to be? There's, on the continuum of creating that challenge, there's neutral and then positive and minus or negative kinds of things that can happen in creating that challenge. Again, not too high, not too low. That's one way to view anxiety or tension. Under degree of difficulty, we have success. Success breeds success. And in my little representation here, I've used a graphic organizer. Many of you recognize this already as a flow chart. We'll start at the bottom step with diagnose what it is that you're going to teach, prescribe, engage. In Fred Jones, that's see, say, and do. In Madeline Hunter, it's guided practice. Then respond to the efforts that your learners give. That's praise, prompt, and leave in Fred Jones. And finally, correct. That's independent practice, where they've shown that they know how to do a particular skill or a particular activity, and now you ask them to do it several times to make it permanent. Remember, practice makes permanent. You want it to be perfect practice. And under K, knowledge of results, It's simply answering the question from the student, how am I doing? You give immediate feedback and specific feedback. Immediate is, as soon as they give you the correct response, you of course acknowledge that. And then specific, you try to give them specific details of what level of accomplishment they've achieved. If they're adequate, but they need something else, tell them the truth. Don't just say, great job, and walk away. You might leave them wondering, well, what do I do next? Or what does he mean by great job? But if you say to them, I see that you've got the first clause here, you just need to tighten up the second, which is going to depend on the first, and then you'll have it. So far we've done anxiety, success, and knowledge of results. Under ask fee, say those first three with me. Anxiety, success, knowledge of results. One more time. Anxiety, success, knowledge of results. Now on your notes, take a minute to write your own definition of what this term anxiety means. Write your own definition of what success is. And finally, your own definition of knowledge of results. All right, we've done ask, now we're ready for fee. Under F, feeling tone, we have pleasant, smiley face, unpleasant, frowny face, and neutral, no face at all. You'd like to avoid neutral because you know how you respond to someone who's just neutral, has no interest or no excitement about what it is they're teaching. Unpleasant, you want to be careful with using that too much. I think any student will get used to the unpleasant and begin to ignore what it is you'd like them to do. For the most part, we've all learned from teachers that have a pleasant feeling tone. I maintain that we learn better from someone we like as a teacher than someone we dislike. Finally, interest. Make the material meaningful. Here's a hook. You'll read about that a lot in Fred Jones and Madeline Hunter. Make the material meaningful by attaching the power or the meaning of that material with something in the learner's previous experience. And make the learning experience vivid or novel. I've used color throughout the presentation so that it's vivid for you. We know psychologically that color has an impact on our learning. And novel. Here's another way to write novel on a line, not straight on a line, but you want to be careful. Madeline's example is, do not overdo novelty by bringing an elephant into a room to teach the color gray. So if we look at the last two elements of motivation, they're feeling tone and interest in fee. Ask, fee. Now try to complete this chart yourself. Write ask, fee, and see how many of those you can recall right now. Take about 10 or 15 seconds to jot down as many as you can from the ask, fee prompt. I'd like to do an evaluation of the lesson I just attempted to teach using some comments about the use of these 5 elements under motivation. When we began, I think all I said was that we might use this in the Dropbox when you're asked to create a strategy for using motivation in your lessons. But if now I wanted to raise that anxiety a little bit, I might say that when you go to an interview with a principal and he or she asks you to explain how you attempt to motivate students, you'll have command of these 5 elements and you'll get the job. I think that increases, if not your interest, the importance of knowing these elements and much more how to use them. Again, I said you could use your experience as a parent, a coach, a teacher, or a military person to give a foundation or give a description of how you already use some of these different elements. The last thing that I want to point out in the addendum was, I said use caution about the elephant in the room certainly we'd want to not overdo interest, but you, in working with students in the 21st century, know they come from a media and electronic device background. As a matter of fact, you've started your class, and the first thing you've asked is to take out your earplugs, take your cell phones, zip them up, and put your backpacks on the floor, because you need them to focus on what it is you're going to present. For example, I'm an English teacher. I want to teach Jabberwocky. I can do it this standard old school way. Here's a copy class of Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. I want you to read it over. It won't make sense, but I want you to substitute different nouns in to the places in the sentences where you think they should be nouns. Okay, let's start on that. You've got 15 minutes, and then I'll collect those. Instead of that, I think now what students deserve and will react to in a much more positive way is my getting on the smartboard and bringing up two pieces off the smartboard concerning the reading or the recitation of Jabberwock. The first doesn't have a view of the person reading it, but it's a wonderful Shakespearean, deep-throated actor, and the background preserves the mystery of the poem. And it's read by Michael Haynes, and it's black and white, and it doesn't take that long. That's one experience. Then go from that to the Johnny Depp recitation that he gives in Alice in Wonderland of Jabberwocky. Remember, with Alice circulating around the hat band and him in a very pensive, straightforward way reciting this poem in a totally different way. And right away you'll have most everybody in class who's seen Johnny Depp work and who has a real appreciation and interest in watching him do this. Again, using that is a higher form of interest, and I don't think it goes over the top. Again, be cognizant of your decision making with regard to any of the 5 elements, and that'll help you be more successful. And that's what I'm thinking we need to keep in mind. Thank you.